All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Culture Wave Media Network. I am one of your hosts today, Mark Jacobino, joined as always by Vinny Albano.
Hello, hello.
And we are talking about DanDaDan Season 2, Episode 7, feeling kind of gloomy. Got a lot going on in this episode. We've got historical composers. We have a breakthrough with Momo and Okarun's relationship. Gigi has a bit of an advancement in his abilities in the spiritual realm, and on a battle that's about to come next week with a bunch of composers, which is pretty funny. How are you feeling about this episode this week, Vinny?
Yeah, I'm really liking it. I really enjoyed this episode, specifically through a directorial lens. I thought the directing in this episode by Abel Gongora as well as Yamashiro is incredible. There's so many moments that are very cinematic. That opening being a great example of having this long dolly out, it seems, of Okarun. The music and the visual companionship there. I love the scene also where Momo walks out at night. Colors and the camera tracking with her eyesight to then reveal Okarun. Even stuff like going to Peeny Weeny where he works. Something very cinematic, very Western. It felt very Hollywood. I was a big fan of that this episode. I also really loved how many little character moments we had. I mean, Seiko, Gigi, Momo, really real and genuine moments that I thought built on these characters better than most episodes we've seen so far.
Season 2 is in a really nice pocket right now where we're getting a lot of great character moments, and the silliness and the comedy, I don't want to say take a back seat, but they're not as forward as they were in Season 1. And I think I'm really enjoying this area that DanDaDan is exploring. I hope this is kind of where they keep it moving forward, and I think they will. Definitely the direction and the editing throughout this episode is so awesome. Like you mentioned, the shot where we see her pouring the tea and then it dollies through, and then we see it's a reflection from Okarun's perspective as she has her shift go on. We have that montage where they're playing a historical composition while she's trying to do her job, and we get these quick cuts. It's all really great, and just shows that there's a lot of appreciation for cinema with the creators of this show. I definitely agree when he does meet the boxing guy at that farm. I was watching, I was like, there's something about this that looks really good. I don't know what it is, but it feels different, and I really like it. I thought it'd be like a Mr. Miyagi moment where he's like, I'm not going to train you, but help me move all these heavy things. So he, like, in a way gets Okarun stronger, but it didn't turn out to be that way. I do like the direction that they take it with Turbo Granny training him, because it just makes sense. It's her powers. I mean, we're still there's still that tension, but we are having a breakthrough with Momo and Okarun. Do you like where they're headed with that? Do you wish there was more? Do you wish there was more of just like an admittance that they like each other, or do you still like that there's a shyness between them?
I like that there's a shyness. I feel like it's just going to happen in anime. It's the biggest anime romance trope of they're gonna stretch that rubber band and stretch it and stretch it and stretch it, and eventually it might snap, or sometimes anime, they just forget about it. Like, they kind of drop it, which we'll see what happens. I like it as of now. I think it's really sweet. And in the realistic, we've been with DanDaDan for a long time, so as viewers, it seems like it's been a while. But in the world, it's quite realistic to that's a
good point. Yeah, it's been like a couple weeks in their world, and we see that there's still some jealousy there from Gigi, which I kind of thought we had gotten past. I feel like there was an acceptance from Gigi that, like, I like Okarun as a person, and it's okay that him and Momo have a good relationship together, but we see he's kind of still looking at them and seeing how they're getting closer, and he's giving himself some distance now, and we see there's like an awkwardness between them, which I thought was an interesting move in the story at this point.
That's actually interesting, because I interpreted that scene differently.
Ooh, please, lay it on me.
Yeah, I interpreted that scene as Gigi. I could see where you're coming from, and I actually do agree with that now looking back, but in the moment, I thought Gigi was guilty for hurting the people that is closest to him.
Yeah.
Because he genuinely cannot control this evil eye. There's no words expressed, no line of dialogue, and he's just watching as there's that shot of the burn on Seiko's hand, and then we see how the evil eye, like, ripped Momo's clothes, and how Okarun was about to rage out. So I interpreted that as feeling guilty for hurting the ones closest to you.
Yeah, that makes sense. He's embarrassed for sure. You know, he consistently is hurting people or putting people close to danger, and he needs them to bail him out. And we have that breakthrough with him where Auntie Seiko drops the soy sauce on him and he's able to hold back the evil eye, which is really good. But then, you know, the next 2 seconds later, evil eye takes over. So I definitely see where you're coming from with the embarrassment. I'm curious if we lean more towards that, or if there is that bubbling up jealousy that, you know, Okarun is getting closer to a childhood friend of his, and maybe he has some suppressed feelings that he hasn't really expressed to Momo without being silly, because he's always silly with her and she loves that about him, but he's never really gotten, you know, serious with her and being like, hey, you know, I have these really deep feelings for you from childhood. So definitely something to keep an eye on, but I think we're both on the right track. Either way it takes it.
I love the idea of Gigi's archetype. I just love the confident, athletic jock type character, but really has so much deep insecurity. And I think DanDaDan does it really well because he's not an asshole. He's actually quite charming and goofy, but he's overconfident. You know, he's the guy in a way. Yet he really is so distraught and traumatized underneath, and he doesn't let people see it. And I love that.
And switching over to Okarun, you know, he's such a gentleman. He's such a gentleman. And I like how he's always been protective of Momo, but now he's taking it almost on as a responsibility to protect her now, and he couldn't when Gigi changed and she was alone in there and she had to save herself, which was really cool. I love that scene. How she kept the water in her mouth, which again, it was boiling. It was like really hot water, so you could see like the determination and the smarts in her mind to do that and deal with that pain. But Okarun was stuck on the outside. He was raging. Like he was like, I can't get in there and save her. And now he wants to get stronger. He thinks, you know, if he reads Hajime no Ippo, he's going to be able to punch and be strong. But we see that technique is going to be the way that he gets stronger, not physical strength, which makes sense for his character. He was never going to be the big, strong, tough guy. He's got to be smart and agile. So I like that he's kind of growing in confidence within himself.
You know, adding on to the character moments and the direction, and you reminded me this because the mention of the technique. As we kind of go to the later half of the episode, there's something I can't describe it as to why I love it, but the idea of comparing the fighting styles and techniques to momentum in a music, tempo in a music, and a BPM of sorts is so awesome to me. And I love, again, through a directorial lens and through a character lens, how they implement this and how it's unique. It makes sense for each of the characters why their fighting styles would be like that, and how able Gangora and Yamashiro here direct the scene with just the jumping and the editing here, like cutting back to previous fight scenes throughout the 2 seasons. Super cool.
It's nice when shonen can be fresh, you know. It's surprising that no other shonen has really broken down fighting like this. I think it's been more inherent, like, you know, you have shows like Samurai Champloo that use the music in their choreography, but this felt more like, you know, the traditional shonen, like this is how you get stronger, this is the system. And I appreciate that we've evolved as a storytelling medium away from these like long training arcs, and how we've been able to compress them into just, okay, we're going to do a little training arc with Okarun, but we're going to do it through an episode and a half and a fight, and we're going to just like not build this whole crazy magic system. We're just going to be like, keep it simple. Music, tempo, you have to fit in this pocket to be as strong as this person. So I appreciate that as someone who, you know, those really long shonen, I'm like just sitting there like, I want them to just get to the point. And I feel like shonen has just grown so much, like JJK, DanDaDan, Chainsaw Man, just like I think it's in a really nice era where things are very concise and focused and the story gets across, and I think that's what needs to happen so it doesn't feel stale the more anime that come out.
I 100% agree. I mean, the fact that it is delivered so quickly, it's like Turbo Granny, it's like, hey, I'm going to train you, boom, boom, and then we get right into the cliffhanger, just going to be a fight. So it's like, you know, we basically did the training arc in hopefully this episode, next episode, maybe another episode, and boom. But that's all you really need, you know?
That's all you need. Yeah. I'm very curious why he went this direction. I mean, very surface level. It's like, okay, I want to have my fighting system related to music. How can I bring in, music? How about, the architects of the greatest pieces of music ever? The composers that we see kind of come to life in this bobblehead form. I'm curious what his kind of inspiration to go that way was, but maybe we'll get some more insights this week, because their compositions are kind of laced throughout this episode, which was a pretty cool and very interesting idea. But I feel like in season 1 we had a lot of callbacks to very like iconic pieces of music, so I guess it makes sense for the show.
I really don't have much else to say about this episode except for just how much I love the direction. I mean, there's so many. I know I sound like a broken record at this point, but the storyboarding is incredible throughout this entire. Even the scene when Seiko and the Bootuber is speaking outside. And there's that like fish eye as she's smoking the cigarette. I'm like, whoa, this is so cool. You mentioned all the evil eye freak out scene. Every shot, every storyboarding, camera movement in there, that whole sequence is immaculate. It's so visually interesting and also sonically interesting that this episode's really cool.
Yeah, the original score for this episode stuck out to me, definitely, like in that scene where we transition from Seiko to Okarun training in the front. And I like that you brought up the fisheye shot, because Seiko, she lets the cigarette burn, just showing how deep in thought she is, and she's not taking a puff. She's literally sitting there thinking about what these kids are going through, and that she can't fully protect them as much as she probably has in the past, because they are in such a dangerous predicament. Yeah, I hope what we talked about last week with getting little inklings of her backstory and where she came from, I think will be really great for her character and kind of the world of DanDaDan. So I hope we keep getting more little sprinkles from her past. But yeah, just another really strong episode. I like that we focused on directing, because I think it's something that we appreciate in the animated medium, and a lot of people probably take for granted or don't think animation has that much detail in the directing space. But when you watch it and you see shows like this, you're like, no, this is like cutting edge. Like, it's doing just as much as live action is. Probably in some cases, when it comes to TV shows, more than a lot of live action TV shows that get more attention. So I definitely want to, keep shining a light on animation in that respect.
I also really liked Momo's friends. They're rude, but in a funny way.
Yes.
Throughout the entire opening sequence, and I really love that.
Yeah, I'm sure they will be here every step of the way for every single moment where Okarun and Momo will evolve their relationship. I'm sure they will be right there along the way. But yeah, that's all I got. I'm excited for next week to see what they do with the fight scene. I hope you guys enjoyed our episode. I hope you enjoyed the episode of DanDaDan. Let us know in the comments what you thought. Please like, subscribe, do all the things. In the description, we have all of our social media. Definitely go check that out. And if you're watching it right now, we're probably covering it, so definitely check out all that stuff. I just said check out like a million times, but that's totally fine. So I've been Mark Jacobino, your host today.
And I've been Vinny Albano.
And thanks for watching. See ya.
This is the culture.